There are different versions of lying, so let me share them with you. You're born in a certain environment, and whatever your environment is, it's going to give you stories. And you're going to believe those stories. You don't care if they're true. You don't care if they're false. But you're not at a place in life where you can sit and observe and reflect them, study them, come to your own conclusions. You're far too young, and you're far too gullible. And the fact is, you need help. Human beings, it takes a long time for us to begin to understand anything that's worth understanding. So initially, what happens to all of us in this room is you just accept things that are given to you by your parents initially, by your siblings, by your relatives, by your neighbors, by your friends, and then society at large. I mean, look at this wonderful thing that has happened to us. Now, a few years ago, it was Einstein or Stephen Hawkins or Angela Davis or Malcolm X who kind of told us the definition of happiness and meaning and success. Today it's Kim Kardashian and, Jay-Z and Beyonce and Miley Cyrus, So that's the first thing. You just gulp down narratives given to you from other people and you accept them. And that becomes your faith. Then there are moments, as Kevin would say, moments of clarity, where you begin to doubt and become a good skeptic. Could I have been deceived by the very people who love me? The answer is yes, but it's just an inspired moment. You're not going to stay with it for too long because your entire life would unravel and fall apart. So you kind of look the other way and you say, yes, I love my father and he loves me too. I love my boyfriend and he loves me too. Story ends. We have very little self-knowledge. In other words, the mirror into which we look to see our own reflection is not very clear. And thank God for that. You're an 18-year-old kid. And this is a religion class, let's just say. And you raise your hand to ask a question. I say, so what's your religion? I'm a Christian. You're 18? Yes. And you're a Christian? Yes. That's the best joke of the day. You're 18. You can hardly wipe your own ass, and yet you're a Christian. It's a lie that allows you to have faith. It gives you a GPS, gives you morality, do's, don'ts, good, bad. It's great. Can I tell you a story? It comes from Jean-Paul Sartre. It's called No Exit. I mean, we can change direction if any of you have a more interesting question or something else you want to talk about. It made me think of Israel and Palestine. My blood was boiling, but I turned off the oven. Okay. So let's talk about nausea for a moment and the art of lying. Before we talk about lying, let me just say it's a good thing. You should be less honest if you are at all. You should be less self-reflective. because it'll protect life and it'll continue to fetch you friends and be liked by your boss and by friends, by your parents. And do not let any teacher out there to tell you that you should be authentic. Don't be authentic, okay? Remember, copy, paste. Copy, paste for a long, long time until you learn the alphabets well, okay? Then if you have the talent to go out there and create your own essay that comes from your own soul or intellect, fine. But until then, copy, be a copy-paste sort of a person. Okay? Lucy, have you watched The Truman Show? You have? See? If you want the answer to your question, just go watch the movie again with Jim Carrey. You know, as long as you lie and don't see the lies, you live in the suburbs. Everyone loves you. But the moment you begin to open your eyes and see what lives behind the veil, the curtain, then you may feel some emotions you may not enjoy. Sartre was one of those ridiculous human beings who has some interesting things to say. He was, of course, taken into custody by the Nazis, but he was given a nice room. He was given fountain pens and sheets of paper, and he was served coffee and breakfast every single day so he could continue his writing. I'm not quite sure if everyone was that privileged in the 1940s or so. Regardless, he was one of those people who encouraged, inspired us to be authentic, to be creative. Another philosopher who lies well in a very creative way. He sells us poison in a way that's very attractive and inspiring. So beware of those people. Should any of you come to my office and tell me that you want to drop school because you're a genius, I'm going to tell you you're a liar. You're no genius. You need to copy and paste yourself in school for the next 20 years until you get your master's or PhD. Then when you have power, if you want to go out there and just goof around for a number of years, fine, at least you have power. And you can always go back to that power and use it to your advantage. There are three people in this particular play. And one, his name is Garsan. Garsan is a hero, at least he thinks himself to be. He's like a Che Guevara. He's like a Malcolm X. He wants to change society. He's about justice and fairness and equality. Consider for a moment if you have sold yourself that particular narrative. I'm a great father, I'm a great instructor, I'm a great this, I'm a great that. And then you have these moments of clarity that you suck at all the things you thought yourself to be good at. It's a horrifying place to be. But nevertheless, Garsan is very tricky. He chooses friends. He chooses friends in a way that they will tell him exactly what he likes to hear. For those of you who are not gifted by DNA or biology good looks, if you have friends who are unattractive, ask them how many people they hang out with who tells them every single day how ugly they are. Because if they had friends as such, they're probably suicide. So they make sure that they hang out with people who look very much like them. And just in case they hang out with very, very attractive people, it's because they want to be seen by other unattractive people. That this person who is so unattractive is hanging out with people who are very attractive. Or if you happen to be like Socrates, very unattractive physically, and you can't do much, it's not like today where you can be like Kim Kardashian, add a little here and chisel out a little there, right? You're condemned by life to be just ugly. Well, your only way out to find any friendships is just lock yourself in a room and read books and make yourself intellectually attractive. So when someone says, "Oh, you're so ugly," you say to them, "Within me lives the kingdom of God." And all of a sudden the guy says, "What? Lives in me, the kingdom of God. Have you seen the kingdom of God within me?" And all of a sudden, a person who is profoundly ugly becomes a thing of curiosity. Well, he speaks so eloquently. And all of a sudden, after like 5 or 6 or 7 weeks, you have all these followers. Even though you look like a truck, you know, you have all these people following you because you're emotionally or intellectually attractive. So Garsan is this guy who wants to change the world for the better. He's brave, courageous, he's willing to take a bullet for everyone. In theory, of course. So one day he goes out and he's walking to Safeway to grab a bucket of milk. And there are these cops standing around, you know, eating donuts, coffee. And the cop looks at him and says, "Wait a minute. Isn't that the guy we've been looking for the past like 50 years? And they take out the cell phones, they look at the picture, and it's a match. And they go to this man, they say, "Aren't you Garsan?" "No, I'm not here at all." "Or aren't you the guy who's causing this rebellious movement?" No. "You have the wrong guy. I'm not him." "You are him." "No." Imagine thinking yourself to be a certain way for about 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and someone comes to realize you're just a piece of crap. And then you know what Garsan does? He doesn't run away, he just sits and he cries. "Please don't cuff me. I'm just an innocent guy. I've done nothing wrong." And he cries so well, and he acts so well that the guards come to realize perhaps that they've made a mistake, so they let him go. But you see, now you go home with an experience, a very unusual experience. I believed myself to be a hero for 20 years. Today I realized I'm not really a hero. I'm a counterfeit. How the hell do I live with that? The first thing you need to grasp from the first character is the moment you have a tiny second of clarity, you're going to have conflict as your guest. And that conflict is going to inspire emotions you won't like. Your eyes are going to be forced open, and you're going to see yourself differently. What happens when you live in a conflict? Well, you can't really resolve the issue, so what do? You call your friends. You know, imagine that you write this essay for this class and the grade comes back to you and it's a D-. And you take the essay to your best friend who's as stupid as you are, if not more. And you say, "Joe, can you read this and tell me what you think?" And your dim-witted friend reads the essay, which is no more than maybe a 2-line paper, says, "Oh my God, this is comparable to the New Testament. It's beautiful. He gave me a D-." Oh, you really need to talk to him and talk to his dean. See if we can get him fired. So remember, whenever you find yourself in a conflict, you try to find someone who is on your side. The next character, her name is Stell. Oh man, she's beautiful. She's like, you guys think Miley Cyrus is attractive? She has nice legs. How about Angelina Jolie? Let's talk about, okay. So Stell is like the Angelina Jolie of the 1960s. The problem with Stell is that she doesn't have self-confidence. She doesn't have very much depth. And she suffers for those reasons. But none of us in this class like suffering too much, so you know what she does? She finds lonely, pathetic men. And she goes to them and says, and when she walks past by them, these men begin to salivate, you know? And they scream, I want you, I want you. And someone who has no confidence about themselves, and when you have zero confidence, you have zero value, and you can't live with the fact that you're just a dumb idiot, maybe happens to be blonde or brunette or redhead, whatever. And all of a sudden, all these men begin to whistle and scream and desire to want her. And all of a sudden, a woman who stays in a room with zero value, leaves the house, zero value, a few men look at her, whistle, and all of a sudden become the object of affection or lust or greed. All of a sudden, her value goes way, way, way up. It's like the stock market. And now she feels good about herself. And there are 10 men who want to bet her. She looks and she says, who thinks I'm the prettiest? And so all these men begin to compete. And eventually she picks one of them. She takes him into the bedroom and she looks at him and says, before you and I grind bodies together, tell me about how beautiful I am. But you have to tell me a nice story for about 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. So I could feel differently about myself. And that's what the men do. For 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours, they tell her how attractive she is. And once in a while, when they're engaged in this physical activity, she stops them and says, can you again tell me how attractive I am? And again, the men say, oh, you're beautiful. And then when the physical activity is done, the man leaves and the woman feels like crap again. So what you have is another way that all of us in this class maybe lie to ourselves. We have no depth. We don't really know why people like us, maybe even love us. All we know is that you leave your house because you're lonely, pathetic, sad. You go to a coffee shop, someone looks at you and winks at you, and you say, oh, maybe I'm not as bad as I thought myself to be. Now you become relevant, when in fact for the past 2 weeks you've been sitting in your room depressed. You had zero relevance. Even if you died, no one would really notice. And so you have a woman who is simply desired for her body. Her emotions have no depth. Her thinking has no depth. She just meets. And for those of you in this class who enjoy Karl Marx, one of the awful things that capitalism does to all of us, it turns all of us into meat. Our conversations are meaty. Our relationships are meaty. Even our relationship with ourselves. None of us have time to read a good book, to even entertain those ideas seriously. And Marx wasn't around to see the technology as it is today. But things moving so fast as they do today, none of us in this class really have time to create a relationship with anything out there. Not even playing chess. with your computer because you want to play other games and do other things. So since this woman doesn't have depth to be her own best companion, she has no choice but to look outside for someone to tell her that she has some value. Mothers have a gift. The kids run to the mother and she feels wanted, genuinely wanted. Her body is like a playground for the children, The kids run to the mom because they want to be cared for. They want to be nourished in some shape or form. Fathers, on the other hand, unless, of course, you're a single parent, that's a different story. So remember, Garsan, our hero, desires someone to tell him that he's a hero and not a coward. Stell wants someone to tell her that she's attractive. Then you have a third character. Her name is Inez. She's a lesbian. A certain orientation that's not really appreciated. It's only in the past maybe 15, 20, 30 years that the door has opened a little, where such things have become much more acceptable. In the 60s, it was a different story. And so Inez, poor Inez, she has to walk around and just be accepted as a human being, and not as a complete deviant, poison or evil to society. There is another name to the title of this book or play. It's called No Exit, Other People Are Hell. You raise your hand and you ask a question, and it's an honest question. But it's a question that you haven't really reflected on. It's not seasoned, it's not mature, you haven't given it much thought. Just kind of spit things out. And I just explode. And you feel bad and embarrassed in this class. I embarrass you. You feel the gaze of 30 people in this classroom upon you. And you realize something really interesting. It is true that you may desire authenticity, you may desire honesty, you may desire independence and freedom. But people have so much power over us. Our good friend has come to this classroom. Giving all of us something to smile about. And it's nice. It unburdens you a little bit. Imagine if for a moment we all looked at her and said, what the hell is wrong with her? She's no longer 5. She's no longer 10. She is an adult. Why can't she dress like an adult? Why can't she look like an adult? Now, of course, she could come back and say, it's my life, it's nobody's business. That's her comeback. That's the only way she can find comfort in who and what she is. But imagine if I said this, and then you said that, and then the next class, all the students said that to her. How long do you think she could last before crumbling and crying out the classroom? And one of the things that Jean-Paul Sartre wants to say about authenticity, about lying, is that we don't want people to be honest with us. And we don't choose our friendships due to honesty. We depend on other people's lies to survive. You know, philosophy has been around for a long, long, long time. 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 years. You're only 18. You've read what, 5 comic books? and you take a philosophy class and you write an essay and then you expect yourself to get an A? I mean, you're not even a drop in this ocean of philosophy, but your expectations are grand. And if someone was to tell you how dim-witted you are, how stupid you are, what would you do? Oh no. You would try to combat that truth about yourself. Now you have three people locked in a room. You have Garsan, who has an issue. Am I a hero or a coward? You have Stel, who has an issue. Am I attractive or ugly? And you have Inez. Do I, as a human being, have any value? And you need people out there to either tell you a yes or a no. But you're not going to feel good if someone says no to you. So you're going to find people who will say yes to you. One of the things that Fyodor Dostoevsky talked about in his novel, thick book, Brother Karamazov, chapter, I think, 5. Imagine, for those of you in this class who are a Christian, go home today, and let's just say around 10 p.m., you get a knock on the door. And you look through this hole, and you see this guy you've never seen before, or maybe it's just daytime, you're not that scared. You open the door, he's got long hair, and let's just, stay with the image of Jesus that has been around for a while. Very nice looking guy like Brad Pitt. Beautiful beard, beautiful face, blue eyes, long hair, he's got a robe on, and he's holding on to a staff or a stick. And he looks at me and he says, "Are you Joe?" "I am." "Are you waiting for the second coming?" "Oh, yes." "Wait no more, I am here." "What?" "I am Jesus." "No." "You're one of those hippies from Berkeley." "No. I am Jesus. You see me, you see God. You read that passage in the Gospel of John. That's me." "No." He says, "Okay, look, isn't it true that when you were 2, you beat up your sister?" "Yeah." My father probably told you that." "No, I know everything about your past, present, and future." And he tells you all these secrets, all these things that you kept, a secret to your life. He tells them to you. And then, frustrated, you look at him and say, "What do you want?" "I'm just here to tell you, you're really not a Christian. Come follow me." You say, "No, let me tell you what Christianity is, Jesus." And all of a sudden you realize that, you thought that you were a Christian. Jesus comes into your life, tells you that you're a scumbag. But it's very difficult for you to appreciate that. So you try to tell Jesus that you can, in fact, turn him into a Christ, not the other way around. So remember, we don't choose our friends casually. We are political animals to the very core. If you raise your hand to ask a question, it's because I have never embarrassed you in this class. Had I embarrassed you, you would think twice, maybe thrice. Now when you raise your hand, you do it because you feel secure. And that's how life is. So Garsan has 2 roommates. Inez, the lesbian, and Stel, the Angelina Jolie. 2 other incompetent people. So he goes to Stel, who uses her body to increase her value, and tells her, "Listen, I got caught, now I have a dilemma. Am I a hero or a coward?" Stell looks at him and says, okay, well, since you come to me to resolve your dilemma, I have a dilemma of my own. Let me share that with you. You take me to bed, and every 5 seconds tell me I am the most beautiful woman you've ever encountered. And I will tell you that you're a hero. Two people living in a lie and being okay with a lie because there is no other choice but to lie. That's the only way you can have value in this life. And so they both get naked. And they're about to do it. But all of a sudden, Garsan says, I know exactly why I'm doing this, and I know why she's doing it. I mean, I can live with little lies, but this is a huge lie. First, I don't really find her attractive. Second, I don't really want to have sex with her. But I also don't want to stay in this confused state, whether I'm a hero or a coward. I need someone to tell me I'm a hero. Please. He puts on his clothes, goes away, and he knocks on Inez's door, the lesbian. Inez looks at him and says, I don't like men. I don't care what you think about yourself. Alive or dead, you're irrelevant to me. And Garsan says to himself, what the hell am I going to do? Am I going to live in this purgatory for the rest of my life? Can someone out there tell me I'm a hero? I mean, you would think that he'd be okay with being told that he's a coward. But this idea of being a coward has to compete with 20 years of you thinking that you're a hero. It's not going to go well. So Garsan sits in a corner all by himself, unable to find anyone who will tell him he's a hero. Inez and Stell are left. Stell goes to Inez and says, Garsan doesn't want to sleep with me. He doesn't want to tell me I'm attractive. Can you tell it to me? And Inez says, of course I'll tell you that you're beautiful. One condition. What? Let's lay together. I'm straight. No. You lay next to me. We'll do A, B, C, D, and every 5 seconds I'll tell you, you're beautiful. And Stell says, I don't go that way. I just go this way. I'm hetero. So what you have are three people who are desperately looking for someone out there to validate who and what they are. So, do you have any questions before we go home? Remember, this is just a story. No need to go home and be depressed or get into a fight or jump from a bridge. It's just a nice story. That's all. Wolf? What? You know, Wolf, for many, many years, I would have people come to my office and sit. Maybe even come to the house once in a while. And maybe there was something about me that would desire that. I could feel relevant, important, that my ideas mean something, that my life amounts to something. But you know, there is only so much crap you can give to yourself. And of course, there's the reality of old age and maybe moments of clarity and honesty where you say, you know what? I don't really care if people want to say bad things about me. I don't really care if my life is irrelevant. I find it to be irrelevant, and that's sufficient. And I'm okay with being irrelevant. I'm okay with my kids forgetting me, my wife forgetting me. I'm okay with all of that. And then you realize little by little, well, maybe you have really no need for anyone or anything. Once in a while, of course, we do, because we are social, political animals for the most part, you know? And that's really the story. If you can write well, if you can lock yourself in a room, if you can find sheets of paper where you can draw, you know, the paper can validate you, and it can validate you in a very nice, beautiful way. You don't need people. People lie all the time.
Then are you living in authenticity at that point?
You live in loneliness. Maybe authenticity, I don't really know. But you know, I mean, right now, not right now, but just, I walk into a class and I say something, and a 20-year-old's, you know, head goes like this. And like, you know, like, yeah, I understand. It's so profound. I say, you're only 20. I say I whisper it to myself, you're 20. You can go like this until your neck falls off. It doesn't mean anything. And you can ask great questions. And I can like entertain your question for an hour and a half. But deep down, I know you just don't understand what you're asking. And that's the thing, you know. Do you understand? See, there you go. Do you have any questions or comments before we go away? It's good to see all of you. I will see you Wednesday. Take good care. Stay well. Looks nice. I'm sorry?
You got time for food later if you wanted to. We're having a contest, but it's also free food for anybody. Yeah,
I usually just leave after class.
that's okay.
Yeah, I have stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
But thank you.
I don't know.
You should have told the class, but
If they don't have to give a shit if they don't want to.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
It's one of those things where the